I am the beta in this ABO narrative. The alpha, who has been in a comatose state for 3 years, has finally awakened under my care. Everyone insists that it was my omega brother who tended to him during these years. My father declares, "You are merely a beta. He is the most promising major general in the empire. There is no future for you both. It would be better for your brother to take your place and marry him." With great indignation and burdened by humiliation, I depart. Later, however, the major general confesses to me, "If it were you, I would indeed be quite willing."
01 Wei Hang awake.
Remarkably, it was the day following my leave of absence. It seemed like fate that after 3 years of devoted care, he chose this moment to regain consciousness just as I took my first day off. Upon my return to the Wei family estate, the butler regarded me with a sympathetic gaze. "Mr. Lin, the master has instructed that you are no longer needed to attend to the young master. Perhaps you might consider resting in the guest room?" I was perplexed. "Have you hired a new caregiver? I have been the one caring for him all these years." The butler hesitated, words caught in his throat. A familiar voice echoed from the staircase. "Xingzhe, I have terminated your contract. You need not return here." I turned in astonishment to see the middle-aged man standing on the second floor. My biological father, Lin Dong. Lin Dong led me to a secluded corner, his tone earnest and heavy. "It was a mistake to force you into the role of Wei Hang's personal assistant against your will. I was too domineering. Now that Wei Hang has regained consciousness, your services are no longer required. Yu Yuan will take over your responsibilities." He continued, "Your belongings have been packed and will be sent to you." I clenched my fists. Lin Yu Yuan is my fraternal twin brother. I am an unremarkable beta, while he is the cherished omega, adored by many. My father and Lin Dong had an illegitimate relationship, and after giving birth to us, Lin Dong took Lin Yu Yuan away, leaving my father and me to fend for ourselves, neglecting us for years. It was only when my father fell gravely ill at the age of 15 that Lin Dong was compelled to bring me back to the Lin household. As for Wei Hang, he is the eldest son of the Wei family, the most illustrious clan in the empire, born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Our paths were never meant to cross. 3 years ago, Wei Hang undertook a peacekeeping mission, engaging in fierce combat against the Zerg. After repelling the Zerg, he was awarded a first-class merit and became the youngest major general in the empire. However, he was also injured by the Zerg's neurotoxin and was declared brain dead. Several prestigious families that had previously sought to ally with the Wei family withdrew upon hearing of his condition. Among these families, the Lin family was the most destitute, with the least chance of success. Seizing the opportunity, Lin Dong volunteered to send Lin Yu Yuan for a marriage alliance. Yet, Lin Yu Yuan vehemently refused to marry a man in a vegetative state. To placate the Wei family, the cunning Lin Dong pushed me forward as a shield. He signed an agreement with the Wei family stipulating that as long as Wei Hang remained unconscious, I would stay by his side for life. This was little different from forcing me into a marriage with him. When my father fell ill, he accrued significant debts, and Lin Dong threatened me. If I did not go to the Wei family, he would not assist me in repaying them. That sum was one I could never hope to repay with a lifetime of work. Complying, I arrived at the Wei residence and became Wei Hang's personal assistant. With the backing of the Wei family, the Lin family quickly reclaimed its former glory. The Wei family treated me generously, paying me a salary 10 times the market rate. Sacrificing one for the benefit of both families was a fair trade. I resigned myself to viewing Wei Hang as my companion for the remainder of my life. Yet now, he had awakened, and Lin Dong, with the utmost nonchalance, expected Lin Yu Yuan to replace me. Anger surged within me, and I retorted scornfully, "Mr. Lin, does your precious son possess the ability to care for others? Are you not concerned he might reveal his inadequacies?" I had never regarded Lin Dong as my father. I always referred to him as Mr. Lin. Lin Dong, visibly irritated, replied, "Do not concern yourself. As long as Wei Hang remains unaware, that is sufficient. I must remind you to have a clear understanding of your own position. You are merely a beta, while he is the Empire's most promising major general. There is no future for you two. It is better to let your brother take your place in the marriage." I had never contemplated marrying Wei Hang, but the theft of my 3 years of labor left me resentful. I refused to comply with his wishes, feigning ignorance. What if I lack such self-awareness? Lin Dong's tone darkened. Then I will have to resort to more forceful measures. "Oh, does Mr. Lin intend to silence me?" I provoked. Lin Dong scoffed. "It is not to that extent." Just then, a series of electronic chimes announced the arrival of the elevator. The position where Lin Dong and I stood was conveniently adjacent to the elevator entrance. The doors slid open, revealing Lin Yuan and a servant pushing a wheelchair, in which sat none other than Wei Hang. His father, Gu Yun, followed closely behind. The two parties were caught off guard, expressions of astonishment adorning their faces. 02. Upon seeing me, Lin Yuan's face turned pale, and he looked to Lin Dong for help. Gu Yun, exhibiting commendable composure, greeted us casually. Mr. Lin, what brings you here? Lin Dong hurriedly responded with respect. We were discussing a matter. My apologies for obstructing your path. He tugged my arm, maneuvering me aside, casting a quick warning glance in my direction. My attention, however, was entirely captivated by Wei Hang. Accustomed to his serene, slumbering visage, I found myself somewhat disoriented by the sight of him awake. Though his complexion was not ideal, his eyes sparkled with life, and he held himself upright, suggesting he would soon regain his former grace. I had thought my indifference would hold, but witnessing Lin Yuan standing protectively behind Wei Hang was particularly irksome. I had cut Wei Hang's hair and nails, and I was the one who had tended to his body and cleaned his mouth and nostrils. I had cared for him for a full 3 years. What right did Lin Yuan have to reap the benefits? Rage and resentment bubbled within me, and I bit down hard on my teeth, forcing myself to remain silent. Wei Hang, sensing the intensity of my gaze, spoke up. Who is this? As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan shot me a panicked glare. Lin Dong interjected swiftly. This is my adopted son. He came to discuss something with me, so we will take our leave. Please take care, General Wei. Fearing I might say something inappropriate in front of Wei Hang, Lin Dong seized me and made a hasty exit. As we reached the parking lot of the Wei estate, Lin Dong slapped me across the face. The force of an alpha is not to be underestimated. I stumbled to the ground, my cheek swelling rapidly. Lin Dong towered over me, glaring down with an imposing presence. Are you awake now? Have you recognized your place? Next time you encounter Wei Hang, control your gaze. Do not let him notice you. My face throbbed with pain, but I stubbornly resisted the urge to touch it. I glared defiantly back at him, rising with dignity. Upon meeting my gaze, Lin Dong's expression flickered with a hint of guilt as he muttered, "Just like your father." I dusted off my hands and turned away, exiting the parking lot without a backward glance. Lin Dong called after me, "Stop, where do you think you're going?" I ignored him, leaving through the exit and heading down the mountain road toward the city. It was not until I reached the bus station that I leaned back in my seat, closing my weary eyes. Whether it was bringing me into the Wei family or now forcing me out, my will had never been respected. I was merely a puppet, manipulated at their convenience. A bitter smile graced my lips. After being cast out, I chose not to return to the Lin family but instead found a small inn to stay temporarily. During this time, Lin Yuan surprisingly called me. "What song did you sing for Wei Hang?" I was taken aback. "What song?" Lin Yuan replied impatiently. "He said he heard someone singing while he was in a coma, and he wants you to sing it for him." The realization dawned on me. During my time accompanying Wei Hang, to alleviate the monotony, I would occasionally hum the folk songs my father used to sing to me as I massaged him. It seemed those melodies had imprinted themselves in his mind. A malicious thought flickered within me, and I feigned ignorance. The doctor advised me to play classical music for him. Perhaps it was those songs. Which song? He said there was only one. It was evident that Lin Yuan was anxious, fearing that his true intentions might be revealed, but I had no obligation to help him deceive others. I scoffed. I played more than one song for him. How am I to know which one he meant? Don't bother me with such trivial matters. I hung up without a shred of compassion. Thankfully, Lin Yuan did not call back. Shortly thereafter, members of the Wei family came to see me. They informed me that Gu Yun wished to meet, and I obliged. The meeting place was the most prestigious 8-star hotel in the empire. "Xingzi, we have all witnessed your unwavering care for Wei Hang over the years, and our entire family is deeply grateful for your efforts," Gu Yun stated with a flawless facade. I replied coolly, "There's no need for gratitude. I merely did my job." Gu Yun did not seem offended by my brusque demeanor. Instead, he smiled pleasantly. "Your contribution to Wei Hang's swift recovery is undeniable. Xingzi, you are an exceptionally clever individual. Some matters need not be explicitly stated for you to comprehend." I propped my chin on my hand, feigning innocence. "I'm not clever. I'm merely a mediocre beta who has never even attended university." If Mr. Gu has something to say, please do so directly. Otherwise, I may not grasp your meaning. Gu Yun continued to smile with an air of nonchalance. To be honest, I find your straightforwardness more admirable than your brother's pretentiousness. It is truly a pity. If you were an Omega, I would have no qualms about Wei Hang marrying you. His tone was calm, yet the words carried an underlying arrogance. I spread my hands. Thank you for your appreciation, Mr. Gu, but unfortunately, I am not worthy of such fortune. Your time is precious. Let us get straight to the point. I appreciate your candor, Gu Yun said as he activated his personal terminal. Name your price. Consider it compensation for the years you have devoted. The offer of money, of course, came with ulterior motives. Name a sum and then what? Then, find a city far from the capital to start anew. Ideally, somewhere Wei Hang could never reach. Gu Yun said with a grin. Can you manage that? The implication was clear. I was to never again cross paths with Wei Hang. I held up 2 fingers. 200 million. Gu Yun promptly entered the amount. 3 seconds later, I received a notification that 200 million had been deposited into my account. I have also sent you the electronic contract. Let us sign it together. After completing the digital agreement, I stood up and said, Thank you for your generosity, Mr. Gu. I shall take my leave now. Gu Yun urged, There is no need to hurry. Wei Hang is getting engaged to Yue Yuan in a few days. Will you not attend? I jested, Mr. Gu, you are quite bold. Are you not afraid I might disrupt the wedding? Gu Yun chuckled. How could that be? You lack the capability. He professed to admire my straightforwardness, yet deep down he looked down on me. A hypocritical smile, I thought. Gu Yun insisted. Attend the engagement party first. We all wish for your presence. Was this a test of compliance to see if I would truly concede? Having just accepted a sum, I certainly would not be obstinate. I readily agreed. Then I thank you for the invitation, Mr. Gu. I shall attend as promised. The engagement banquet was held in the banquet hall of the Wei family villa, marking Wei Hang's first public appearance since his awakening. The atmosphere was vibrant, adorned with splendid flowers, including an abundance of Freud roses transported from agricultural planets. Though I was a guest from the Lin family, my seat was placed in a corner, allowing me only to view the stage through a 3D screen broadcasting in real time. The symphony orchestra was performing, and it was not yet time for Wei Hang and Lin Yueyuan to appear. Surrounded by unfamiliar guests, I lost my appetite after a few bites of the appetizer. I felt like a clown, manipulated by both the Wei and Lin families. Having made my appearance, I believed I had fulfilled my role. I discarded the napkin I had used to dab my mouth and rose to leave. The corridor outside the banquet hall connected the Wei family's main residence to the greenhouse. In the past, while caring for Wei Hang, I often pushed his wheelchair to the greenhouse for walks, as I adored the butterflies there. Regrettably, I would no longer have that opportunity, I lamented. Just as I was about to exit, 3 alphas suddenly appeared before me. Isn't this Lin Xingze? What a coincidence. The alpha who spoke was tall and robust, sporting tousled curls. I struggled to recognize him as he leaned closer. What's wrong? Don't remember me? His flippant tone instantly dredged up unpleasant memories. He was a classmate from high school. Before the age of 15, I had lived with my father in a small fishing village far from the bustling city. Shortly thereafter, my father fell victim to scheming, accumulating massive debt, and fell ill. Left with no options, he entrusted me to Lin Dong. Not long after, my father passed away, and Lin Dong brought me back to the Lin family, enrolling me in the same elite academy as Lin Yueyuan. Lin Yueyuan, eager to keep his beta twin brother a secret, spread rumors that I was an illegitimate child raised by a mistress. Some affluent youths, either seeking to vent for Lin Yueyuan or simply bored, took pride in bullying me. This trio was among them. I scoffed. I don't recognize you. Good dogs don't block the way. As I attempted to sidestep them, the curly-haired alpha seized my arm. Let me help you remember. He yanked me forward, roughly gripping my chin. TSK, TSK. He purred. What a beautiful face. Too bad you're just a beta. The alpha beside him sneered. Being a beta is great. You can play around without fear of getting pregnant. How unfortunate for you. I swiftly pulled out a can of pepper spray from my suit and aimed it at his face. With a hiss, the pepper-infused tear gas sprayed across his visage. He let out a howl, clutching his face in agony. Anticipating encounters with certain undesirable individuals before attending the banquet, I had prepared myself. While I stood no chance in a physical confrontation with alphas, I excelled in cunning. I always carried self-defense tools like pepper spray and stun guns. I took off running as the curly-haired alpha bellowed, "Catch him!" I zigzagged through the venue, unexpectedly finding myself outside the greenhouse. Every room in the Wei family was equipped with access controls that required facial recognition for entry. Unsure if my information had been deleted from the greenhouse's system, I decided to take a chance. I bent down to present my face to the recognition screen. The screen swiftly scanned my features, and an electronic voice announced, "Recognition successful. Please enter." The greenhouse door clicked open, and I darted inside, the electronic lock engaging behind me. The ruffians outside were left fuming, hurling curses. Now that I was here, I might as well enjoy the sight of the butterflies. As I glanced around and took a step forward, I was suddenly seized from behind, a hand clamping over my mouth. I was pulled into a warm embrace. I looked up in astonishment to find Wei Hang's sharply defined face before me. How did he end up here? My heart raced with shock. Wei Hang raised a finger to his lips, signaling for silence, and playfully winked at me. My heart skipped a beat. At that moment, voices echoed from outside. "Young master, where are you? Young master, it's your turn to go on stage." It was the butler and the servants. I then heard the butler say, "Gentlemen, this area is private. Could you please leave?" The curly-haired alpha awkwardly replied, Okay. We are lost." As their footsteps faded, I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when the recognition system chimed again. "Recognition successful. Please enter." The greenhouse door swung open, and the butler and servants were about to come in to search for someone. Wei Hang clasped my waist and nimbly leaped into a lush cluster of hydrangeas. My mouth and nose were covered, and I felt like I was on the verge of asphyxiation. This fellow had been awake for just over half a month, yet his strength was astonishing. I could not budge him at all. I pinched the back of his hand with all my might, gesturing towards my nose. Originally vigilant and gazing into the distance, Wei Hang lowered his head to look at me. He paused for a moment, then quickly comprehended, shifting his palm downward to allow me to breathe. In truth, even without his hand covering me, I would not have made a sound, but there was no way to explain this to him in such a moment. The butler and servants were searching frantically within the flower room, passing right by us several times. Wei Hang and I were pressed closely together, his body heat seeping through the fabric of our clothes. I was so tense that my entire body was taut, a thin layer of sweat forming on my back. I was all too familiar with Wei Hang's hands. Due to years of weapon training, the palms were somewhat calloused, with thin calluses formed. Over the past 3 years, I had held his hands countless times to apply acupressure and assist him in loosening his joints. My feelings had evolved from initial reluctance, to helplessness, and finally to resignation. Sometimes I would console myself, at least Wei Hang was handsome and would not bully or trouble me. I could just treat him as an oversized doll. My thoughts began to drift. The servants, having found nothing, ultimately departed. When the electronic lock engaged, I suddenly snapped back to reality. Wei Hang still held me tightly, refusing to let go, prompting me to elbow him. Only then did he release me. "Oh, my apologies, that was rather abrupt," he said, stepping back and raising both hands in a gesture akin to surrender. I took a slight breath, loosening my bow tie to catch my breath. Wei Hang was a whole head taller than I, tilting his head as he leaned down to look at me. "Are you from the Lin family? How did you get in?" Initially irritated with him, Wei Hang suddenly struck a chord within me, causing my heart to race. I averted my gaze, half-truthfully saying, "I'm not sure. I just tried to identify myself and walked in. Perhaps there's a glitch in your family's system?" I shifted the blame back to him. "Our security system is comparable to that of the Ministry of Defense," Wei Hang pressed on. "Have you ever entered your facial recognition data?" I spoke vaguely. Perhaps it mistook me for Lin Yueyuan. Despite the differences in our traits, I bore a strong resemblance to Lin Yueyuan, though I was taller and he was fairer. Wei Hang's gaze scanned my face like a scanner, and he stated earnestly, "That's not possible. You two don't look alike." He added, "You are far more pleasant to the eye." Such flattery. I mentally scoffed at his attempts to charm me with such tactics aimed at an omega. "Is that so? I have matters to attend to." "Excuse me," I replied, not wishing to continue this exchange, hastening directly towards the door. "Wait, you can't go out yet." Wei Hang pulled me back. I glared at him, and he replied matter-of-factly, "They are searching everywhere for me outside. You cannot leave now." I retorted helplessly, "I won't say anything. I just want to go home. General Wei, please let go. You are now my accomplice." I cannot let you go. Who is your accomplice? I have no relation to you, let go. I exclaimed in frustration, trying to pry his fingers away. Wei Hang remained steadfast, and unable to break free. I kicked him in desperation. He sidestepped, avoiding my kick, and I lost my balance, tumbling down. Be careful. Wei Hang caught my waist, but he too lost his footing, and we both fell into a rose garden. Thud. I found myself sprawled across Wei Hang's chest, him becoming my makeshift cushion as we landed amidst the blossoms. Petals scattered around us, and a flurry of butterflies was startled into flight, swirling around us in a graceful dance. My hands pressed against Wei Hang's chest as we locked eyes in stunned silence. My reflection shimmered in his deep brown irises, our noses nearly touching, even our breaths entwined. I was unable to savor this intimate and ambiguous atmosphere. My first thought was of his recent recovery. What if he were to get hurt? I scrambled to my feet, helping him sit up by grasping his arms. How do you feel? Any headache? I brushed the hair from the back of his head, checking for any swelling. Then, I pinched his joints, inspecting for injuries. How do you feel? Did you hurt anywhere? Wei Hang chuckled. I'm not a child. Does falling down warrant such concern? It dawned on me that I had overreacted, and I quickly stifled my anxiety. As long as you're fine, I stammered. Then I'll take my leave. Do take care. Wait a moment. Wei Hang reached out, encircling my waist and pulling me closer, his gaze fixed on me with intensity. Why are you so anxious about me? Tell me, have we met before? No. I denied instinctively, realizing I had to remind him, General Wei, today is your engagement banquet. Do you plan to hide away here? Wei Hang shrugged. Hiding here is too dull. I want to go out. Then go out. I want to leave, I began, but he abruptly hoisted me over his shoulder. What are you doing? I exclaimed in shock. I'm escaping, and I'm taking a companion with me, Wei Hang declared, striding towards the gazebo in the flower room. I shouted for him to put me down, but he remained unfazed. He activated the mechanism of the gazebo with his fingerprint, and the floor opened from both sides, revealing a hidden passage. There's this too? I was left speechless. Wei Hang effortlessly carried me down the passage, and I anxiously clutched his back. What are you planning to do? Don't act recklessly, I warned. The passage housed a maglev motorcycle. Wei Hang set me down on the bike, and I stuttered, Where are you taking me? As I said, I'm escaping, he replied, nonchalantly fastening a helmet on me. He donned his own helmet and then gracefully mounted the bike, speeding away like the wind. As the motorcycle roared to life, a spherical protective membrane formed around us. This was my first experience on such a vehicle, and the supersonic speed left me dumbfounded, forcing me to cling tightly to Wei Hang's waist. Half an hour later, Wei Hang halted the bike by the breezy riverside. Clumsily, I removed the helmet, and he supported my waist as he helped me dismount. I noticed the personal terminal on his wrist flashing a red light. Someone was trying to contact him. Wei Hang's unceremonious departure from his engagement banquet likely caused chaos on that end. I had accepted money from Gu Yun and should not be entangled with him. I reiterated, General Wei, I'm leaving. Once you're done playing, you can return on your own. I placed the helmet on the motorcycle and Wei Hang inquired, Where are you going? That's none of your concern. Do you want to go home? Take me with you to hide, he said, grinning. I never knew he could be so brazen. In caring for Wei Hang, I had perused much of his background. He was exceptionally gifted in both academics and martial arts from a young age, entering the Interstellar Military Academy at the top of his class at 18. He achieved grades in both military and cultural subjects, breaking the Academy's historical record. The acceptance rate for that academy was a mere 1 in 1,000, and even with connections, it was challenging to gain admission. The students there were future pillars of society. Before turning 22, Wei Hang had a smooth sail, adored by all. When he was declared brain-dead, even the highest commander expressed deep sorrow. Others lamented that heaven was envious of such talent, that brilliance was snuffed out too soon. To my astonishment, he had returned to life. This legendary young hero was a stark contrast to the shameless individual before me. I retorted, General Wei, we are not related. You don't even know my name. If you want to hide, wouldn't it be more appropriate to find a hotel or another friend? I find myself perplexed by his evasiveness. Does he truly wish to avoid an engagement with Lin Yueyuan? If that is indeed the case, what could possibly be the reason? He responded to my inquiries. How could I possibly know? You are Lin Xingze, and your father previously made some convoluted claims, stating you are an adopted son. when in fact you are Lin Yueyuan's biological brother. He continued, the hotel requires identification for registration. Should I go, my whereabouts would be revealed. As for friends, I have not reached out to those I have not been in contact with for 3 years. It would be rather inconvenient. I nearly choked on my indignation. And you feel justified in troubling me? He appeared utterly unrepentant. I don't know why, but there is an inexplicable affinity I feel with you, as if we have known each other for ages. My heart skipped a beat. I forced a laugh. That is merely your illusion. He seized the opportunity. Let me stay at your place. Once this storm blows over, I shall depart without causing you any trouble. Out of the question. I firmly rejected, deciding to be forthright. I am leaving the capital tomorrow, and I truly cannot accommodate you. Please seek other arrangements. I had already purchased my train ticket for the following day, planning to return to my father's hometown. Upon hearing this, his eyes brightened. Leaving the capital? Where are you headed? I instinctively took a step back. What are you scheming? Take me with you, he exclaimed, activating his personal terminal, muttering to himself, you needn't say a word. My access rights allow me to discover your destination. I shouted, you cannot abuse your authority. This is my private matter. He retorted playfully, did you share this information willingly? Or should I uncover it myself? Either way, I am sticking with you. I countered, tickets require real name registration. Are you not concerned about being traced? I can simply drive behind you. He replied with an air of confidence. I have a customized magnetic levitation motorcycle that can travel for 30,000 kilometers without pause. Would you care to experience it? Perhaps I could even offer you a ride. No, do not follow me. Frustrated, I hastily walked away, only to find him leisurely trailing behind on his motorcycle. I initially thought he was merely jesting, but even after I boarded an unmanned bus, he continued to follow. This stubborn fellow seemed impossible to shake off. Leaning out the window, I saw him waving triumphantly. I sighed in exasperation. It seemed I had become entangled with him. Standing beneath the hotel, I locked eyes with Wei Hang. You should leave. I will not allow you upstairs. I was resolute. Wei Hang, undeterred, replied, no worries. I will wait outside. You must leave in the morning. I doubted he could endure the night. In a fit of pique, I turned away and entered the hotel. After my shower, clad in pajamas, I approached the window. Under the streetlights, Wei Hang's silhouette leaned against his motorcycle, elongated by the glow. Glancing at the clock, I noted it was 11 o'clock. I was curious to see how long he could persist. I extinguished the light and climbed into bed, forcing myself to drift into slumber, but rest eluded me as I tossed and turned. Unable to resist, I peeked out the window every half hour. Wei Hang had shifted from leaning against the bike to lying atop it, engrossed in a game on his terminal. Still not leaving? Frustrated, I swiftly drew the curtains. Lying on my side, wide awake, I was startled by the sudden rumble of thunder. Was it about to rain? I sprang up with a start. Donning my coat and slipping on my slippers, I hurried outside. By the time I emerged, the sky had begun to drizzle. Upon seeing me approach, Wei Hang flashed a carefree smile. My emotions were conflicted. We agreed. I will only host you for one night.
Wei Hang nốt đét Vigorushin.
Ushering his motorcycle into the parking lot as I led him into the hotel. I pleaded with the front desk, explaining he was my friend, staying only for one night, and requested they forego the registration process. After verifying his electronic identification, they permitted him to stay. New room registration required ID, so sharing with me avoided that hassle. Wei Hang confidently sauntered into my room. I retrieved all the bedding, intending for him to sleep on the floor. However, he groaned dramatically, clutching his head. I feel a bit dazed. Perhaps I hit it earlier. My hand paused mid-preparation. He forced a smile. It's fine. I can sleep on the floor for just one night. I should be able to withstand the chill. I sighed deeply, pointing to the bed. You take the bed, and I will sleep on the floor. Wei Hang firmly insisted. There is no need for such trouble. We can just share the bed. Don't worry. I promise not to overstep any boundaries. His words infuriated me, suggesting I was being overly cautious. I scoffed. What am I worried about? I'm not some omega who gets pregnant from a mere touch. Yet, my bravado only served to tighten my body, curling up at the edge of the bed. I faced away from Wei Hang, each of us wrapped in our own blanket, ensuring no physical contact. How had things come to this? At this moment, I felt as though I were in a surreal dream. The person I had thought I would never encounter again was now audaciously sharing a bed with me, soundly asleep. I endured until the early hours of the morning, finally succumbing to fatigue. I dreamt of my past experiences caring for Wei Hang. In my dream, he had constructed a small tent beneath the covers, still unconscious, his face flushed and his heartbeat alarmingly rapid. I panicked and called the attending physician, who advised, "He is in a vulnerable phase. You must assist him, or his bodily functions will suffer." Trembling, I asked, "What should I do? Administer a suppressant?" Suppressants only address the symptoms. If you force it down, his next vulnerable phase will be even more severe. Aren't you a man as well? Why do you need me to teach you how to help him? Caring for a comatose patient was indeed part of the job, but I had always shied away from it. Gritting my teeth, I set aside my embarrassment and assisted him. After all, we are both men. There was no reason to feel ashamed. I mentally prepared myself. In matters of alpha, I was not inexperienced. The first time was manageable, but subsequently, I would emerge drenched in sweat, my arms aching by the end. Once, after toiling for over an hour without success, Wei Hang was in extreme discomfort, his blood pressure and heart rate skyrocketing. In my desperation, I could only lower my proud head. Oh, how could I dream of such humiliating memories? My consciousness gradually returned from the hazy dreamscape. I blinked, my eyes stinging, as my blurred vision sharpened. I stared incredulously at the strikingly handsome face before me. At that moment, I realized I was nestled beneath the covers with Wei Hang, my head resting on his arm. I soon discovered that Wei Hang had snuck into my bed. I dared not breathe, cautiously inching away. The moment I moved, Wei Hang frowned, his lashes fluttering as he slowly opened his eyes. "You!" I was about to tell him to return to his own space when he gazed at me sleepily. With a soft hum, he tightened his embrace, burying his face in my neck. I felt my toes curl in embarrassment. Wei Hang clung to me, playfully nuzzling like an oversized golden retriever. How infuriating! Where are you rubbing? The scenes from my dream lingered in my mind, and here was Wei Hang reenacting a similar situation. I was overwhelmed with shame and kicked him. "Get off." It was breakfast time. I languidly nibbled on a pancake roll, while across from me, Wei Hang savored his meal with unabashed delight. His carefree demeanor incited a twinge of irritation within me. I elongated my face and remarked, "General Wei, it's time to conclude your escapade. You should hasten home before the chaos escalates." "I won't return," he replied obstinately. "I intend to cling to you. Wherever you go, I shall follow. You cannot rid yourself of me." I was at a loss for words. How had I managed to provoke this ancestral spirit? With a hint of sarcasm, I urged, "You should hurry home. Your precious fiancé is likely weeping for you. You ought to consider your family as well."
Wei Hang merrily scoffed.
"We aren't officially engaged. So what does it matter?" I had not intended to pry into his affairs, but I needed to uncover the crux of the matter to find a resolution. "Why don't you want to return? Don't you wish to be engaged?" "I do, but not to him," Wei Hang replied nonchalantly. "If it were you, I would be quite willing." I nearly choked, struggling to swallow the pancake. What did he mean? Did he know something? The memory of the 2 billion I had accepted made me increasingly uneasy. I dared not meet his gaze and self-deprecatingly remarked, "General Wei, you jest. What merit do I possess as a beta?"
Wei Hang shrugged dismissing.
"And what of being a beta? If one possesses the right attributes, they can conceive regardless. I am quite confident in my abilities. Would you care to test them?" As he spoke, he playfully unbuttoned his shirt collar and cast me a flirtatious glance. This gesture, if performed by another, would have prompted violent thoughts within me. Yet, in Wei Hang's presence, it felt entirely appropriate, even charged with sexual tension. In a fit of embarrassment and annoyance, I thrust a pancake roll into his mouth. "Be quiet. I've lost my appetite." Such lewd words in broad daylight were eroding the heroic image I had of him. But then again, what hero? He was merely a man. The minds of alphas are filled with base desires. I should have been more discerning. Wei Hang was resolutely determined to accompany me, and I lacked the courage to permit him to follow me on his motorcycle while I traveled by train. He had only recently recovered. Should anything go awry, even my 10 lives would not suffice to atone. Ultimately, I acquiesced to his wishes, refunding my train ticket and allowing Wei Hang to ride me to our destination. Along the way, we encountered inns, so he need not travel incessantly. Every 4 hours, I compelled him to take a break. Felt as though we were eloping. I gazed dreamily at Wei Hang, who dozed against me. Just days prior, I had joked with Gu Yun about my potential to abduct a wedding. He had dismissed my abilities. Yet, as I checked my account balance, I discovered that nearly half of the 2 billion Gu Yun had given me had been expended on compensating the villagers and settling accumulated litigation fees. I exited the page with a sense of futility, attempting to reassure myself. I had not breached the contract. It was Wei Hang who insisted on following me, despite my numerous attempts to dissuade him. I had no desire to reach out to the Wei or Lin families. They had never respected me. If they had the capability, they could find a way to bring Wei Hang back themselves. 2 days later, we arrived at our destination, a quaint fishing village called Shanzue, home to a mere 100 or so residents. This remote and underdeveloped locale was where my father and I had grown up. Upon returning to the 2-story house my father left me, Wei Hang followed closely behind, his curiosity piqued. The house, situated by the sea and long vacant, bore a musty odor, with peeling paint on the walls and rust-stained window frames. I informed him, General Wei, if you find this place uncomfortable, you are free to leave at any time.
Wei Hang rút nôn cha lên.
What does it matter? I've endured far worse during wilderness training. After settling in, I proceeded to the village chief's home, where he assisted me in registering my information. Henceforth, I would be an official resident of Shanzue. Upon exiting the chief's abode, I found Wei Hang leaning against the seaside embankment, surrounded by inquisitive villagers. You're so tall and strong, are you an alpha? An elderly woman exclaimed, admiring Wei Hang. He readily admitted, indeed. The villagers buzzed with excitement, chattering animatedly. I've never seen such a handsome alpha before. Yes, more attractive than a celebrity. What celebrity? The young men in the navy are far more handsome. Young man, are you also in the military? The villagers of Shanzue were all betas, with the occasional alpha being stationed nearby in the navy. As for omegas, they were exceedingly rare, with most villagers only catching glimpses of them on television. The elderly woman inquired, are you Xingza's boyfriend? Although Xingza is a beta, he is no less attractive than an omega. Another elder chimed in, Xingza's father is an omega. Xingza should be able to have children. The topic veered into uncomfortable territory, and I hurried over. I apologize, everyone, but we must take our leave. We can chat another time. I shot Wei Hang a warning glance. He waved goodbye to the villagers, cheerfully sidling up to me. As we departed, Wei Hang suddenly turned to the villagers and declared loudly, I am not Xingza's boyfriend. I am his fiancé. I coughed, choking on my own saliva. Glaring at Wei Hang, I protested, what nonsense are you spouting? I am merely stating the truth, he replied with conviction. Flushed with embarrassment and indignation, I hastened away. Upon returning home, I found several large delivery boxes piled at the entrance. My online order for art supplies had arrived. Wei Hang helped me carry the items inside, and I eagerly opened the boxes. You can paint? Wei Hang inquired, squatting beside me with curiosity. I've been painting since childhood, I replied. I had originally intended to apply to an art academy for university. I had even made it to the final round of the entrance exam. Had it not been for Lin Dong forcing me to become Wei Hang's personal assistant, I would have painted murals on the villagers' houses to beautify the village, potentially transforming it into a popular tourist destination. That plan had already been announced, and I could commence work tomorrow. Wei Hang insisted on viewing my artwork, so I retrieved my paintings from my personal terminal's gallery. He praised, the quality is remarkable. With a little investment in presentation, you could undoubtedly become a star in the art world. Indeed, a prodigious beta artist. That would certainly attract attention. Generally speaking, being a beta is synonymous with mediocrity. While omegas are celebrated for their artistic talents, and alphas are regarded as symbols of strength, these are merely societal labels. I have possessed exceptional artistic talent since childhood. Even after transferring to a prestigious school filled with elite students, I never fell below the top 10 in my class. Yet, because I am a beta, gaining recognition requires tenfold, if not 100-fold, the effort compared to omegas. I suppose I should resign myself to this fate. Noticing my silence, Wei Hang pressed further. Is your father an omega? I shot him a glance. Haven't you investigated that little matter with the Lin family? With your resources, what could you possibly not uncover? Wei Hang chuckled. That is a different matter. I wish to hear it from your own lips. My father is an omega, and my grandfather was a beta. My grandfather was once the village chief of Shanzue. He fell in love with an Omega heiress and fathered my dad. After my grandfather's passing, my father took over as chief. Seeing the villagers' homes in disrepair and the roads dilapidated, he initially intended to collaborate with a tourism company to revitalize the village. However, he fell into a trap and ended up signing a land sale contract. The villagers' homes faced demolition, and in their anger and despair, they came to my family demanding accountability. The travel agency retaliated by accusing my father of breaching the contract, demanding a staggering 300 million yuan in penalties. In a desperate bid to resolve the matter, my father scoured every avenue, liquidating assets, and managing to raise a few tens of millions. Yet he fell ill from sheer exhaustion. It was then that Lin Dong intervened, skillfully negotiating with the opposition for an extended period. During this time, I was brought back to the Lin family. With Lin Dong's assistance, the penalty was reduced to 100 million. To alleviate my father's debts, I entered into a servitude contract with Lin Dong, agreeing to care for Wei Hang in the Wei household. The village was preserved, yet the hardships endured by its residents over the years remained a burden I must shoulder on behalf of my father. Additionally, I am determined to fulfill my father's last wishes by constructing village homes, roads, and a reservoir. The majority of the funds provided by Gu Yun have been allocated to these endeavors. I conveyed these matters succinctly to Wei Hang, reiterating, "My future will be dedicated to safeguarding Shanzue village. Once you have had your fill of enjoyment, do return. We inhabit different realms. This village is hardly a military fortress that demands such protection," Wei Hang remarked nonchalantly. "I could assist you in applying to designate this place as a protected village, ensuring that no one dares to disrupt it in the future." His perspective, characteristic of someone in a position of power, was beyond my comprehension as someone who had long lived at the grassroots level. Yet, what obligation did Wei Hang have to assist me without compensation? I stubbornly retorted, "I do not wish to owe you any favors. I shall find my own solutions." The following day, donning a straw hat and preparing my toolbox, I set up my easel to commence my work. Merely painting the walls white was a monumental task. This labor, devoid of technical complexity, was undertaken by Wei Hang, who, unbothered by the prospect of sunburn, worked shirtless, wielding a roller with determination. As I immersed myself in the task, I swiftly rediscovered the joy of painting. Surrounded by the environment where I had grown up, I felt an unparalleled sense of relaxation. As I mixed colors, I hummed a tune, and upon completing a few strokes, I inadvertently caught the focused gaze of Wei Hang. He had paused, standing beside me, observing intently. I was taken aback. "What is it?" he asked. "What song were you just singing?" I momentarily faltered. "It's a folk song, The Fishing Girl." Suddenly, I fell silent, realizing the significance of the song. I had often sung it while caring for Wei Hang. The last time Lin Yueyuan inquired about it, I had feigned ignorance. I felt uneasy meeting Wei Hang's gaze, but fortunately, he did not pursue the matter further. As the sun reached its zenith, it was time for lunch. Wei Hang and I took a short break and headed to the village chief's home for a meal. The chief's wife, a warm-hearted woman, filled our bowls with rice, urging us to eat heartily. As we dined, several villagers burst in, clamoring loudly. The leading elder wasted no time, launching into complaints. "Chief, when will you send someone to seal that Devil's Horn cave? June is fast approaching." The other villagers echoed his sentiments. "Yes, seal it quickly. Otherwise, we won't dare to go outside. The dock over there has seen no activity. If it's not sealed soon, when will it be?" The chief patiently tried to appease them. "We have already applied to the town government. The approval process takes time, and we must wait for the official documentation." The villagers, dissatisfied, insisted that the chief act immediately, overwhelming him with their demands. I quietly inquired of the chief's wife, "Auntie, what is happening with the Devil's Horn cave?" The cave was named for its resemblance to the horns of a devil, and I had often played there with friends during my childhood. The elder, with a furrowed brow, explained, 3 years ago in June, a father and son went missing in the Devil's Horn, and we have yet to find any remains. For the following 2 years, villagers have disappeared each June. Now that it is May, everyone fears that more will vanish. Have you reported it to the authorities? I asked. Yes. But you know the situation with local law enforcement, the elder lamented. Every year 2 or 3 people go missing, and it hardly raises any alarm. They claim it may be due to the waves. I sensed something amiss and pressed further. Is there any connection among the missing individuals? No apparent connection. They are a mix of genders, mostly young people and children. No elderly have disappeared. After much effort, the chief managed to disperse the crowd. I offered my assistance, but he waved me off. This is a complicated matter. We just need to keep the villagers away from there and hope for a swift approval of the documentation. In the afternoon, Wei Hang and I resumed our wall painting. After an entire day of lifting my neck and arms, I collapsed onto the sofa at home, utterly exhausted. Wei Hang voluntarily approached, offering to massage my neck and shoulders. I gazed up at him, marveling at the surrealism of our role reversal. Just a month ago, I had been the one massaging him while he lay unconscious. Wei Hang's face truly defied scrutiny, even from this angle, revealing an astonishing handsomeness. His chiseled jawline, prominent nose, and deep-set eyes were captivating. How could someone possess such striking features? I found myself momentarily entranced. Suddenly, Wei Hang leaned down and pressed his lips to my forehead. My entire body stiffened, and I held my breath. He brushed against me with his newly grown stubble, murmuring in a low, sultry tone, "If you keep looking at me like that, I might just devour you." "Devour you? If you're hungry, eat something," I retorted, rubbing my tingling forehead as I stormed into the kitchen. For the following week, Wei Hang and I painted the walls daily. Once I became proficient, I could finish a wall in just 2 days. One morning, after preparing breakfast, I noticed Wei Hang had not yet come downstairs. Typically, he rose earlier than I did, starting the day with a set of military exercises in the yard followed by a couple of laps before breakfast. I reluctantly went to his room to call him. Wei Hang lay there, looking lethargic. I touched his forehead. "Do you have a fever?" I fetched a thermometer. His temperature was elevated but not quite feverish. Wei Hang weakly replied, "I'm fine. I just need to rest for a bit. You should leave, don't worry about me." "All right, breakfast is ready. You can eat when you get up," I said, hurriedly departing without further thought. Without Wei Hang as my shadow, I felt disoriented, as though something vital was missing. My concentration faltered, and my progress on the painting was barely half of what it usually was. As noon approached, the sky darkened, and the wind picked up, indicating an impending storm. I hurriedly packed up my painting supplies and rushed home, just as a torrential downpour began. The house was dim and silent. I noticed the breakfast on the table was untouched. Had Wei Hang not woken up? I dashed upstairs and burst into his room, calling out, "Wei," when suddenly a dark figure lunged at me, enveloping me in a fierce embrace. The warmth of his body surrounded me, and I could feel his searing breath against my ear, causing me to shiver. "Wei Hang, what is happening?" Wei Hang suddenly bowed his head, biting down hard on me. His lips were fervently devouring, and I was caught off guard, my mind spiraling into confusion. Wei Hang moved me toward the bed, pinning me beneath him. It finally dawned on me. He was entering his heat cycle. Alphas experience a heat cycle 3 to 5 times a year, during which their bodies undergo significant changes. Wei Hang, having awakened from his slumber, found his physical capabilities restored, and his heat cycle had arrived more rapidly and intensely than before. His pheromones must have started intensifying days ago, but, alas, as a beta I was completely oblivious to them. My clothes were torn away by Wei Hang, and resisting him felt as futile as an ant attempting to uproot a tree. A wave of fear washed over me as tears filled my eyes, and I pleaded with a quivering voice, "Please, don't. I beg you, don't. I'll find you inhibitors." Wei Hang gasped, "No, I don't want inhibitors. I want you. I can't do this. I'm a beta." My voice was swallowed by his desperate kiss. Suddenly, I found myself in tears. I had never been one to shed tears, regardless of the humiliation I endured. I had never cried once. The last time I wept was at my father's passing. I never expected Wei Hang would push me to such a breaking point. Realizing my distress, he released me. I trembled, hastily wiping away the traces of tears from my cheeks with the back of my hand. Veins stood out prominently on Wei Hang's forehead and neck, as he too wrestled with his own desires. In agony, he tremulously asked me, "Do you hate me? Do you not want me?" I shook my head, my voice choked. "I don't hate you. I'm just scared." I have never harbored animosity towards Wei Hang. I have always been acutely aware of my own feelings. Yet, I lacked the courage to accept him. I did not possess the fortitude to confront the world for his sake. Wei Hang seemed to sense my hesitation, and his movements became exceptionally gentle as he caressed my cheek, saying, Do not be afraid. Leave everything to me. I will protect you. Could I trust him? It appeared I had little choice. After all, I was alone with nothing to lose. It was a gamble I was willing to take. I slowly closed my eyes, and Wei Hang leaned in to kiss me again, this time with much more tenderness than before. The alpha in his sensitive phase was indeed overwhelming. For a full 2 days and nights, I felt sore all over, curled up under the blankets in bed. Wei Hang had fully recovered and even ventured out to buy a fish to prepare a soup. The auntie helped me clean it. I added ginger slices and rice wine, just simmered it. Give it a try, he said, presenting me with a bowl of fragrant, milky fish soup. He carefully fed me with a spoon, and I drank eagerly, touched by the gesture. The illustrious Major General of the Empire, the eldest son of the Wei family, cooking soup for me, it felt surreal. I had been thoroughly exhausted by him, unable to straighten my back, my voice hoarse. In a raspy whisper, I instructed, change the sheets. Wash them quickly while the sun is out. As you command. And the clothes from a few days ago haven't been washed. Do them together. As you command. Also, clear the fallen leaves in the yard. As you command. Yes, indeed, if I did not make use of him in times like these, when would I? After a day of rest, I returned to painting the wall murals, with only a third left to complete. I needed to hasten my pace. Meanwhile, since his awakening to carnal desires, Wei Hang had fully revealed his playful nature. Whenever we were alone, he seized the opportunity to embrace me and nibble at me. He even moved his pillows and blankets into my room, audaciously clinging to me with fervent desires. The alpha was insatiable, and I worried about my frail physique, whether it could withstand his daily demands. Fortunately, my physical condition had always been good. Thus far, our compatibility in that regard was exceedingly high. If I were an omega, I would likely have already conceived. Being a beta spared me such concerns. Even if nothing came of our relationship, I reassured myself that there would be no lingering repercussions. As June approached, my wall mural project was nearing completion. One day, as I was applying putty, Wei Hang was squatting beneath the scaffolding, assisting me in mixing colors. Suddenly, an elderly man approached him for help. Little Wei, my boat is stranded. Several men cannot budge it. Could you lend a hand? I quickly urged you should go help. Wei Hang, with his remarkable strength, was just the person for the task. He set down his brush and followed the elder away, leaving me to finish the painting alone. After completing the final stroke, I moved the scaffolding aside and activated the camera system on my wristband to capture the overall effect of the mural. Just as I was photographing, I inadvertently spotted 2 young boys carrying fishing rods and bamboo baskets running from a distance. There were few children in the village, and these 2 were brothers. The older one named Damao and the younger one Xiao Hai. Where were they headed? I squinted, realizing they were bound for the Devil's Corner. Instinctively, I felt a surge of alarm and followed them. By the time I caught up, the boys had reached the outskirts of the Devil's Corner cave. The local villagers held this place in great reverence, and it was usually deserted, the rocks covered in barnacles. I called out sharply, Damao, Xiao Hai, come back. The boys were startled and turned to face me. I admonished them sternly, didn't your parents tell you not to come here? Hurry back with me. Damao stubbornly replied, we just came to collect some shells. We'll leave soon. I took a step closer. That is still unacceptable. Hurry back, or I will inform the village chief. Just a moment, Damao insisted, refusing to cooperate. Just then, an enormous, unidentified object surged from the depths of the cave at a terrifying speed. The creature was about 2 meters long. Its body divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, glistening black with 6 legs and a pair of knee-like antennae. It was an insectoid. There were insectoids here. My scalp tingled in horror. The creature landed on 6 legs and crawled towards us with astonishing speed. Without a second thought, I yelled, run! The boys screamed in terror. Damao bolted, while Xiao Hai froze in place. I rushed forward and scooped up Xiao Hai, just as a mass of white silk shot out from behind, ensnaring me completely. My vision faded to black, and I lost consciousness. When I awoke, I found myself in a dark, damp cave. I had become a silkworm, wrapped in white threads and hanging upside down from the cave's ceiling, with Damao and Xiao Hai suspended beside me, both unconscious. Recalling the events that had transpired, I was struck with a wave of panic. We had been captured by the insectoids. Those who had gone missing at Devil's Corner were all taken by them. I forced myself to remain calm as I surveyed my surroundings. There were no insectoids in sight, but the cave floor was littered with moss and the remains of various marine creatures, emitting a foul stench. I had only a vague understanding of the insectoids' characteristics. They were social creatures with a rigid division of labor. The one that had attacked us must have been a worker insect. We had vanished, and Wei Hang along with the villagers would undoubtedly be searching for me. It was June now, and with Wei Hang's keen intellect, he would surely consider the missing persons case at Devil's Corner. Yet I could not afford to sit idly by. If they arrived only to find us devoured by the insectoids, it would all be in vain. The immediate priority was to escape. I felt around my pants pocket and discovered my palette knife. With great effort, I twisted my body, arched my hand back, and retrieved the knife. Gritting my teeth, I summoned all my strength to strike at the silken threads binding me. After cutting through one strand, the rest followed suit and I fell to the ground. I dared not exert myself even to breathe, quickly tearing away the remaining threads from my body before moving to rescue Damao and Xiao Hai. As they slowly regained consciousness, Xiao Hai, upon seeing the eerie cave, was on the verge of tears. I swiftly covered his mouth. "Don't be afraid. I will get you out of here," I whispered urgently. The 5-year-old Xiao Hai nodded with tear-filled eyes. I asked them, "Do you have anything for self-defense?" The two boys produced a small shovel and a knife, the latter used for collecting barnacles, far sharper than my palette knife. I accepted their tools, listened intently, and extended my hand to feel the direction of the wind, determining the way to the exit. I took Xiao Hai's hand while Damao, at 8 years old, clutched the hem of my shirt, and the three of us crept cautiously towards the exit. The insectoid's lair was divided into several areas, and we were situated in what appeared to be their food storage room. As we passed through one opening, I suddenly spotted a terrifying insectoid lurking within. I gasped in horror, and Damao and Xiao Hai stifled their screams, covering their mouths. I pressed against the wall, cautiously peering out. This insectoid was far larger than the worker insect that had attacked us. Its lower body was oval-shaped, resembling a large blanket, which was, in fact, its abdomen. Was it the queen insect? Its abdomen was distended to the point of near translucence, revealing faintly discernible insect eggs within. A sudden realization dawned upon me. June marked the oviposition period for the queen insect, and the soldier bugs were intent on capturing humans to nourish her. It seemed those who had vanished had become the queen's lavish feast. Although the queen was terrifying, her movements were restricted, rendering her less of a threat. I grasped the hands of the two children, retreating with trepidation. Just as we took a few steps, a patrolling soldier bug emerged abruptly from the cave wall. The creature measured 3 meters in length, its formidable mandibles capable of easily crushing rock. Little Hai was so frightened that he burst into tears. Swiftly, I pushed the two of them aside. The soldier bug lunged towards me, its mandibles gaping wide. A primal instinct for survival ignited my latent potential. I swiftly seized its antennae and decisively drew my knife, severing them. The antennae served as the insect's eyes and ears, causing the soldier bug to sway drunkenly, unable to maintain its balance. I dashed toward Damao and Little Hai, hoisting Little Hai onto my back while gripping Damao's hand, making our escape toward the exit. Behind us, the sound of rustling echoed ominously. The insect horde was in pursuit. I positioned myself defensively in front of Damao and Little Hai, bellowing, "Run!" I drew my dagger, charging valiantly towards the soldier bugs. I aimed to buy time for the children to flee. I would face them head-on. The soldier bug's barbed claws struck me, inflicting multiple wounds. I endured the pain and slid beneath it, aiming for its vulnerable abdomen. Though the soldier bug was encased in a tough exoskeleton, its underbelly was its Achilles heel. I thrust my dagger into the soldier bug's abdomen, piercing through, and a spray of viscous liquid erupted forth. The substance was mildly corrosive, searing my arm. The soldier bug emitted a piercing shriek, rolling in agony on the ground. As I struggled to rise and flee, 2 soldier bugs leaped into the fray, one tackling me from behind, while the other blocked my path. The forward soldier bug gaped its maw at me. I resignedly closed my eyes.
Wei Hang, farewell.
In the blink of an eye, a hissing sound erupted. I opened my eyes in astonishment. The soldier bug before me was engulfed in flames, writhing in pain as it thrashed about. The insect horde, instinctively fearing fire, retreated from the soldier bug pinning me down. Still shaken, I clambered to my feet. Xingzai! Wei Hang burst in like a celestial warrior, wielding a flame-throwing wheat killer on his back. Overwhelmed with joy, I stumbled into his embrace. He held me with one arm and asked, "How many insects are left inside?" "I'm not sure, but I saw the queen and some worker bugs." "All right, we'll discuss it outside." With Wei Hang guiding me, I was nearly carried away. Once the danger had abated, I remembered to ask him, "How did you know there were insects here?" His foresight to bring a flamethrower was impressive. "There were traces of those vile bugs in the areas where you went missing." I recognized them immediately. The cave entrance was thronged with villagers. Damao and Little Hai were weeping in their family's arms. After Wei Hang emerged with me, he anxiously inquired, "Is there a hospital nearby?" The village chief hurried over, stating, "There's a clinic 5 kilometers away." Just as Wei Hang was about to take me away, several men in police uniforms approached, berating him, "How could you act on your own?" "Exactly, the firefighters haven't even arrived. You can't just rush in." Wei Hang, unfazed, accessed his personal terminal and displayed his military ID. "I am Wei Hang, affiliated with the Imperial Armed Forces Cosmic Special Operations Group. Insectoids have been discovered within the Devil's Corner cave, and I am hereby taking command." The officers, upon seeing his rank, were left speechless, while the villagers fell silent in fear. Half an hour later, hundreds of naval special forces arrived. Military medics set up a medical unit not far from Devil's Corner. I lay in a hospital bed receiving intravenous fluids, while the military doctor administered urgent care. Fortunately, aside from the severe burns from the corrosive substance, the rest were merely superficial injuries. Wei Hang remained by my side as a colonel entered, saluted, and asked, "General Wei, what are the next orders?" Without hesitation, Wei Hang commanded, "Seal all exits of the cave. Leave no gaps in the seabed. Employ incendiary bombs and shotguns for a full assault. Leave no survivors." "Yes, General." Wei Hang intended to head to the scene, and I anxiously grasped his hand, imploring, "Please don't engage with the insectoids. Would it not be wiser to command from the rear?" I recalled the time he had suffered brain death due to the insectoid's neurotoxin. He squeezed my hand reassuringly. "It's all right. This time, the insectoids are merely second-generation great tooth bugs, easily manageable. Get some rest and I'll return once you wake." He planted a gentle kiss on my forehead before departing the medical unit. As he had predicted, they eradicated all the insectoids in Devil's Corner within half a day, without any casualties. The discovery of insectoids within the Empire was a grave matter. The government took it very seriously, immediately sealing off the information and dispatching specialists to Shanzue village for follow-up. Wei Hang and I were also taken back to the capital. The military's medical facilities were state-of-the-art, and my injuries had fully healed, leaving only a faint scar on my arm. However, due to my close encounter with the insectoids, I was required to stay at a specialized military recuperation center for further observation. Wei Hang was summoned back to his unit to report and summarize the incident. He vented his frustration at his aide on the video call. "The electronic report has already been submitted. I am still on leave. I need to be with my wife." The aide, quick to seize on the key point, asked in surprise, "When did the major get married?" "I did, but the wedding hasn't been held yet." I felt a twinge of unease listening in and urged him quietly, "If they need you, go quickly. I have someone to take care of me here. Your presence is not essential." Upon hearing my voice, the aide immediately ingratiated himself. "Hello, ma'am. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am General Wei's aide. My surname is Li." Wei Hang interrupted, "Don't flirt with my wife." With my encouragement, Wei Hang reluctantly reported back to his unit, with an anticipated return in 2 days. I resided in a luxurious single room at the recuperation center, lacking for nothing, with dedicated personnel attending to my medical checks daily. Life was quite comfortable, albeit a little stifling. Shanzue village had been occupied by military and research personnel, and the villagers were not allowed to leave, with little news coming in. 2 days later, while I was languidly watching a 3D movie without glasses in my room, a nurse entered and announced, "Mr. Lin, you have a visitor." "A visitor? Wasn't Wei Hang supposed to be back?" I stepped out into the reception area attached to my room, only to find an unexpected gathering of individuals. It was Lin Dong, Lin Yueyuan, and Wei Hang's parents. My initial feelings of guilt and fear dissipated within a second. Having narrowly escaped the insect nest, I was no longer intimidated by such a scene. Observing their unfriendly expressions, it was clear they had come to interrogate me. The nurse discreetly retreated. I had the robotic assistant serve them tea and greeted them politely. "Thank you, Mr. Wei and Mr. Go. for coming to see me. Please, have a seat. Lin Dong scoffed. Do you really think we came to visit you? Gu Yun was the first to launch an accusation. Lin Xingze, you accepted 200 million from me and promised never to see Wei Hang again. You are in breach of contract. I remained unfazed. Let me clarify 2 points. First, it was Wei Hang who chose to follow me. I have never pursued him unilaterally. Second, if you deem me in breach of contract, you are welcome to sue me and let the law decide. Gu Yun raised his voice. Don't think that by enchanting Wei Hang you can gain entry into the Wei family. We will never allow a lowly beta to taint the Wei bloodline. Wei Hang's father, Wei Junlei, admonished, mind your language. Do not lose your composure. Gu Yun huffed in displeasure. Wei Junlei maintained a relatively amiable demeanor, speaking in a conciliatory tone. Xingze, you have cared for Wei Hang over the past 3 years, and we are truly satisfied with your efforts as his personal assistant. You deserve 100 out of 100. However, you do not fit the image of the ideal daughter-in-law in our eyes. Wei Hang is an S-level alpha, and it is vital that such exceptional genes are perpetuated. Only through superior offspring can he maintain his stature within the family. If you genuinely love him and wish for his best, you ought to voluntarily step aside and allow him to be with someone capable of producing commendable descendants. As he uttered the last sentence, Wei Junlei meaningfully glanced at Lin Yueyuan, who immediately puffed up with pride. Lin Dong chimed in, even a beta can conceive, but you cannot guarantee the birth of an S-level alpha. The Wei family is of noble lineage, and without an alpha son, you will find it difficult to establish yourself. Xingze, cease your stubbornness. Graciously withdraw for the sake of everyone involved. I laughed coldly. Who says I am incapable? Lin Dong has the least qualification to speak such words. You were well aware that my grandfather was a beta, yet you insisted on being with my father. Did you not consider that my father could also sire a beta? Who is it that selfishly destroyed another's life for personal gain? You? Lin Dong's face flushed with anger, but he refrained from confronting me further in the presence of the Wei family. Lin Yueyuan seized the moment. Brother, how can you speak of our father in such a manner? If father had not been with dad, where would you be? Had it not been for father's assistance, you would have long been sold off to creditors. I turned to him, my expression devoid of emotion. Lin Yueyuan, are you truly foolish or merely pretending? Your father aided mine in repaying debts because he owed my father, and those debts were settled long before I replaced you in the Wei family. At that time, you adamantly refused to care for Wei Hang, and now that he has awakened, you come to claim credit. How can someone as selfish as you have the audacity to lecture me? Upon hearing my words, the expressions of everyone present turned grim. Gu Yun, furious, interrogated Lin Dong. Lin Dong, when you claimed your younger son was frail and unable to care for Wei Hang, were you deceiving us? Lin Dong, both ashamed and furious, replied, Mr. Gu, that is not true. Do not listen to his nonsense. Lin Yueyuan hastily defended himself. Uncle Gu, I was indeed unwell at that time. It was not that I did not want to go. I retorted coldly, what was wrong with your health? Your annual health reports are readily available. At that time, you wept and protested vehemently, refusing to go to the Wei family. Shut your mouth. Lin Dong finally erupted, striking my face. I stumbled into the coffee table, spilling tea and sending a cup tumbling onto the carpet. Lin Dong momentarily forgot to maintain his decorum as he bellowed. You cursed wretch. If you dare to be with Wei Hang, I will break your legs. A commanding male voice rang from outside. Who dares to break my wife's legs? Wei Hang, clad in military attire, entered with a low-brimmed hat and a black cloak draped over him. He exuded an intimidating presence, his expression dark, resembling a handsome yet malevolent deity. As Wei Hang stepped inside, his powerful aura rendered everyone speechless. Despite knowing him for so long, I had never witnessed such a display of lethal intent from him before. Gu Yun and Wei Junlei were both visibly intimidated before their son, with Gu Yun cautiously calling out, Son. Wei Hang averted his gaze, striding directly past them to my side. He lifted me up, his brows furrowed as he gently touched my swollen cheek. Who hit you? His voice was frigid enough to freeze time. I unabashedly glared at Lin Dong, silently accusing him. Wei Hang slowly turned, his expression menacing as he glared at Lin Dong, who recoiled in fear, taking a step back. Wei Hang suddenly seized his wrist, eliciting a pained cry from Lin Dong. Without a flicker of hesitation, Wei Hang hoisted Lin Dong up by his wrist. Lin Dong wailed, "General, please calm your anger." Lin Yueyuan covered his mouth in shock, retreating. Gu Yun and Wei Junlei hurriedly intervened. "Son, let him go." Wei Hang, that is Lin Xingza's father. Wei Hang turned his face towards me, inquiring, "Does he count as your father?" I replied firmly, more like a sperm donor. "I only have a dad, not a father." Wei Hang disdainfully released Lin Dong, who crumpled beside the sofa, trembling as he clutched his wrist, lacking the strength to rise. I suspected Wei Hang had suppressed him with pheromones. For Lin Dong and Wei Junlei were both breathing heavily, unable to meet Wei Hang's gaze. Gu Yun and Lin Yueyuan also trembled in fear. Is this the destructive power of an S-level alpha? Fortunately, I could not perceive the pheromones. Wei Hang summoned a robotic assistant to bring an ice pack. Once it arrived, he cradled me on his lap, applying the ice pack to my face while treating the other four as if they were mere air. Yun, unable to contain himself any longer, broke the silence. "Son, you cannot be with this beta. During your years of unconsciousness, Yueyuan has steadfastly cared for you. We cannot be ungrateful." To ensure Wei Hang marries Lin Yueyuan, he was willing to lie against his own conscience. Without looking up, Wei Hang responded, "Dad, you truly ought to have a serious conversation with my attending physician. Do you think I was completely unaware during my coma?" The revelation struck like thunder, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Even I had not considered this aspect. Gu Yun stammered, "What do you mean?" Wei Hang held me tightly. "It means exactly that. I am fully aware of who cared for me during these years. Do not think that altering the surveillance footage will erase the truth." Gu Yun's face flushed with embarrassment, leaving him speechless. Wei Junlei, still not ready to concede, continued to persuade. "While Xingza has indeed worked hard to care for you, we did hire him. When it comes to choosing a marriage partner, you must find someone suitable." Wei Hang remained unmoved. "I simply like Xingza. Even if the person caring for me for the past 3 years were not him, I would still wish to marry him. Do you all understand that?" Gu Yun grew agitated, appealing to him emotionally and rationally, reiterating the same arguments they had previously used against me, primarily that I was unworthy of Wei Hang. Unable to endure any longer, Wei Hang retrieved a red-headed document from his personal terminal. He read aloud, "Lin Xingza, a villager from Shanzue village, risked his life to save 2 children victimized by the insect tribe and provided crucial intelligence on the insect tribe, making a remarkable contribution to the protection of the empire. In recognition of his outstanding service, the imperial government will award Lin Xingza the highest honor, the Purple Gold Medal." I had learned of this notice during a video call with Wei Hang yesterday, wishing to avoid becoming the center of attention and hoping for a private ceremony instead. Gu Yun and the other 3 were left speechless. Wei Hang grinned with pride. "This is awarded personally by the marshal. Xingza wished to keep it low-key. But since you all insist that he is unworthy, I shall ensure the award ceremony is widely publicized so that the entire galaxy knows my wife and her achievements. In the history of the Empire, there had been only a handful of commoners who had received the Purple Gold Medal, let alone someone my age. It was truly unprecedented. I surmised that the marshal's decision to grant such an honor was, in part, a reflection of Wei Hang's influence. This medal was far more than a mere accolade. The Empire had a comprehensive welfare system, and recipients received special allowances each month, enjoyed the highest privileges while out in public, and their descendants would also benefit from this legacy. Wei Junlei was the first to react. "Is this true? Is it true? Just pay attention to the media reports when the time comes." "Oh, and," Wei Hang announced mysteriously, "there's another important piece of news to share." Gu Yun pressed for details. "What news? Hurry up and tell us." Wei Hang activated his wristband to contact my attending physician. "Dr. Zhu, could you please come over?" Dr. Zhu rushed in. Wei Hang gestured. "Please, share my wife's health examination results." Dr. Zhu pulled up my medical report and stated seriously, "Indeed, the ultrasound report reveals 2 gestational sacs within Mr. Lin's reproductive cavity. The sacs already contain embryos and fetal heartbeats, diagnosing an early pregnancy of 4 weeks. Early pregnancy? I struggled to process the information, incredulously lowering my gaze to clutch my abdomen. I was actually expecting? And with twins? Wasn't it during Wei Hang's sensitive period? Did he manage to conceive on the first attempt? Lin Dong and Lin Yueyuan were so astonished that their mouths could fit an ostrich egg. Gu Yun and Wei Junlei suspected that Dr. Zhu was colluding with Wei Hang to deceive them. Dr. Zhu insisted earnestly, I have practiced medicine for 20 years. How could I joke about something so serious? If you don't believe me, you can check Mr. Lin's medical report. Guyun still found it hard to accept. But isn't he a beta? Dr. Zhu explained. Mr. Lin's constitution is rather unique. His reproductive system is exceptionally well developed, categorizing him as a fertile type among betas. Wei Junlei murmured softly. Well, his father is an omega, so it's not surprising he is fertile. Guyun felt a mix of joy and concern. But he is still a beta. What if the child is also a beta? Wei Hang interjected. Even if it is a beta, it will still be my treasure. I will cherish my child. Guyun and Wei Junlei exchanged glances, and Wei Junlei let out a soft sigh, nodding at him as they both displayed expressions of resignation. Lin Dong, sensing an opportunity, eagerly approached to congratulate me, but I had no inclination to engage with him. Wei Hang issued a dismissal. All right, my wife needs to rest. Unless there's anything important, please take your leave. Once the crowd had dispersed, only the two of us remained in the room. I asked, my emotions conflicted. When did you discover this? When? A few days ago, Dr. Zhu informed me. I wanted to surprise you, so I didn't mention it, he replied. I don't mean about the pregnancy. I interrupted. When did you realize that the one who has been caring for you is me? Oh, that? Wei Hang enveloped me in his embrace. Recounting, those 3 years I spent in bed were actually a state of half-consciousness. Especially from the second year onward, I gradually regained my senses. However, I was unable to move or speak, and everything I saw was blurry. But my hearing improved remarkably. I could hear you singing to me, reciting poetry, and telling stories. Yet my memory was somewhat impaired. I would quickly forget and think I was dreaming. So when I woke up, and they told me Lin Yueyuan was taking care of me, I didn't suspect anything until the day I encountered you at the elevator. A warmth enveloped my heart. You recognized me then? No, Wei Hang shrugged, and I shot him an exasperated glare, which he instantly countered by taking my hand and kissing it. I didn't recognize you, but I fell for you at first sight. How could someone look so perfectly to my taste? I thought to myself, this person was born to be my wife. Flushed with embarrassment, I withdrew my hand and retorted, what first sight love? You were just attracted to my looks. I admit, I was indeed drawn to your physique, Wei Hang confessed unabashedly. But when I heard you were a beta, I was quite displeased. I couldn't marry a beta. I thought I can marry whoever I want, regardless of whether they are a beta or an omega. The more I observed Lin Yueyuan, the more I felt something was off. I tested him and found he was deceiving me, which made me even more frustrated. But at that time I had no evidence. My father had tampered with the surveillance, and the housekeeper and servants were too afraid to speak the truth. He continued, on the night of our engagement, I was extremely agitated. I suddenly remembered that the person who cared for me during my coma often took me to the flower room, so I ran there and found you. The moment you spoke, I recognized your voice. I was almost certain that the one who had accompanied me for 3 years was you. So I decided to elope with you. I pinched his cheek in disbelief. So you had all these schemes in mind. I realized how naive I had been, thinking Wei Hang was just an innocent young master. This man was a military genius. He had set his sights on me, and I was no match for him. How could I marry a wife without a few tricks up my sleeve? He grinned, feeling overwhelmed by the sensation of being manipulated. I reproached, since you knew everything, why didn't you say anything before? Wei Hang rubbed his face and replied, I had to confirm your feelings. If you had no feelings for me at all, couldn't force it? Of course, I wouldn't give up easily. I would use every means necessary to win you over. His words struck a chord within me. My eyes stung with unshed tears, and my throat tightened. It turned out that someone cared about my thoughts. I was worthy of respect. Wei Hang had done so much for me, even opposing his parents. Remembering my late father brought both relief and sorrow. We shared a similar fate. Yet my father's ending was one of betrayal. To encounter Wei Hang must surely be my father's blessing from beyond. Wei Hang wrapped his arms around my waist, playfully coaxing, Wife, just give in to me. I have resolved all your concerns. What more do you have to worry about? I retorted, I'm already pregnant. What else can I do but submit? Wei Hang embraced me, showering me with kisses while repeatedly calling me wife. Epilogue. My receipt of the golden purple medal, buoyed by the official media's promotion, swiftly became the most talked about topic in the galaxy. At the age of 22, as a beta who fought against the Zerg, receiving the highest honor and being the fiancé of a major general, I was practically overflowing with accolades. I was portrayed as an outstanding figure among betas and even entered the Hall of Fame. In the second month after receiving the medal, Wei Hang and I held a grand wedding. 6 months later, I gave birth to twins. One was a beta, the other an alpha. The Wei family celebrated joyously, and Wei Hang showered equal affection on both children, often favoring the beta baby. On the Lin family side, Lin Dong sought to leverage my connection with Wei Hang to marry Lin Yueyuan into a prominent family. However, Lin Yueyuan refused and even attempted to compete for Wei Hang's affection, constantly plotting in the shadows. He bribed our housemaid to harm me and the children, but the maid turned on him and exposed his schemes. In a fit of rage, Wei Hang banished Lin Yueyuan to a remote, undeveloped planet, ensuring he would never return. Lin Dong also met a grim fate. His obstinacy led to his cousin replacing him as the head of the family. After the twins started kindergarten, I resumed my painting career while also engaging in advocacy for beta rights and charitable causes, providing more platforms for artistic betas to showcase their talents. After the lifting of the lockdown in Shanzue village, the local community vigorously promoted the murals I created. Many tourists flocked to the village, transforming it into a popular tourist destination, while the Devil's Corner Cave became a trendy spot for visitors. Though I married Wei Hang, I did not lose my identity. Rather, I continued to shine brightly in my own field. The end. Thank you for listening. See you in the next story.